Trev's Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. That's too sweet. Anyway, it's that time of year again. That time where I get to stop procrastinating and actually start working on regular season videos. So, in the spirit of that time of year, I'm giving you my annual division predictions, this time for the 2025-26 NHL season. But I do gotta say, maybe procrastinating on this one, particularly this one, maybe it was a good thing because I actually had to do a last-minute rewrite on the Atlantic Division. Go figure, right? I think a lot of people did. But with the news that's come out of Florida, that tends to do that to one's division predictions. So going alphabetically, for better or worse, these are my 2025-26 Atlantic Division predictions. I mean, feel free to give me yours. Let me know if you think I'm out to lunch on some of these picks. I'd love to get a debate going. But, like I said, for better or worse, these are my predictions. Let's talk about it. Alright, so if history is to repeat itself, you're essentially picking a Stanley Cup finalist, if not the Stanley Cup winner of the Atlantic Division. And what do I mean when I say that? The last 6 of 7 Stanley Cup finalists have come from this division. The only time it didn't was the 2020-21 season, when that was shortened and based on geography as opposed to actual structured divisions like we're used to. So the Atlantic Division didn't exist in that season. So this is obviously a case of, does history repeat itself, right? Right. But if we don't remember, if we need the refresher, here's how last season's division predictions went. But ultimately, I think this season can go very different, very fast. I mean, the top 5 will always be hard to predict. The bottom 3, this season, yeah, it might not be much of a prediction. It might just be an actual thing in the bottom 3. So this one could be easy, but it's the top 5 where I'm sure a lot of people, myself included, are going to have the problem. But starting from 8 to 1, here's my picks. I think it's obvious. Number 8 is Buffalo. And it's sad to say, I mean, I've talked about this to no end, so I'm not going to beat the dead horse, but until somebody gives a damn in Buffalo, nothing's going to change. It's going to be awfully hard to prove me wrong, or even to change my mind on that one. I'm sorry. I mean, the new old coach experiment in Lindy Ruff obviously didn't work. I don't know what stopped them from cutting the ties. Maybe they do it this season. Whatever Kevin Adams is doing, I mean, it's not working. So, is there a need for an overhaul change? Absolutely. But, I mean, as far as on the ice is concerned, it's ultimately as far as Tage Thompson and Alex Tuch want to take them. And really, the best question is, what version of those two players is going to show up? I mean, defensively, it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, Rasmus Dahlin will still continue to develop and still become one of the best defensemen that the game will see in a matter of no time, I'm sure. And Owen Power, I mean, you can never rule out Power, even though it's taken him a bit longer, but he'll get there, I'm sure. Solve the net problem, put some actual forwards beside Tuch and Thompson, and maybe you'll have something competitive, but well, I don't know what's stopping them. While I don't think they'll be 32 overall bad, I think they'll still be bad. I almost feel bad putting the Bruins at this point. But then I remember how they played last season, and no, it's the last time I picked them to overachieve when they had no business overachieving, because they didn't. Which version of Jeremy Swayman shows up this year? And what kind of a voice can Marco Sturm be to a rebuilding Bruins team? Obviously, they're rebuilding because Marchand isn't back, and ultimately it's Pasternak and McAvoy at this point. I mean, yeah, they did add Middlestat and Arvidsson and Janot, but is that really enough? But I hope to get some help soon, because a Bruins team in a rebuild is not a fun Bruins team to watch. It really isn't. Now, this is a pick I hope I'm wrong on. I like watching a competitive Detroit Red Wings team. I really do. I always have, ever since I started watching hockey. One constant that wasn't immediate, but it came later, was Detroit was a competitive team. And Detroit being a competitive team, I miss seeing that. And yes, Kane, DeBrincat, and Larkin are amazing players when they're on. But that's the problem, when they're on. And as I had said in my bold predictions video, check out here. Was it the 10 teams to watch? I think it was the 10 teams to watch. But anyway, as I said once upon a time, getting Gibson was a good thing. Might have been a year late, but getting him still a good thing. Maybe this is a turnaround for Gibson, or maybe this is just the part where the Yzer plan just isn't working and they need to get younger, better, faster, and hopefully in a relatively quick time, because as I said, a competitive Detroit team is a fun team to watch, and really they haven't been overly competitive ever since switching over to the Eastern Conference. And that's sad, but hopefully, as I said, I'm wrong on this pick. Now this one could be interchangeable with number 4. And that really depends on where the Montreal Canadiens decide to show up. So it's right about here where I kind of started wondering if maybe number 5 and 4 were interchangeable. But with the Canadiens, it's a case of you look at the roster on paper and you see Suzuki and you see Slavkovsky and you see Dobson added to that, as well as Montembeault, I'm sure, had plenty of time to develop and pick up his game in the offseason. And not to mention Demidov, who, well, right reason rhyme, could very well be the Rookie of the Year. Add Hudson to that, who is in no time going to become one of the premier defensemen of the league. And again, on paper, this looks like a complete roster. Is it enough? Can they get back to that playoff spot now that they've had it? And I mean, yeah, it was a relatively short ride against the Capitals, but they got the playoff experience, and that was the important thing, right? But are these guys going to take that next step and be a little more dominant this season? Because paper suggests they should be. We'll see, right? Right. Now, for the first and probably last time this season, for all the divisions, I'm going to attempt to pick the wild cards. And this is going to be one of your wild cards in the East, the Ottawa Senators. Yeah, they proved me wrong hard last season, and I learned my lesson. With Brady Tkachuk playing the way he can play, oh my goodness. The influence that he brings to a team that not only has himself, but Stützle and Sanderson and Cousins and Pinto. And Giroux, I'm sure, is going to have a great final year, if this is indeed his final year. I guess your biggest question mark is, what version of Linus Ullmark are you going to get? Are you going to get the Vezina Trophy Ullmark, or are you just going to get last season Ullmark all over again? And that's not to say Ullmark had a bad season, but he's played much better. You know it, I know it, I'm sure he knows it. A good Ullmark makes a team so much better. And that's kind of why I put them at a wild card spot, because that question mark in net, you never really know. And with Ullmark, you never really know. Hopefully, he'll have a great season. So it's right about here where I started throwing the question marks. But at number 3, I'm still sticking with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So with one less Mitch Marner, there's a little less depth in Toronto, but keep your eyes on Matthew Knies. I guarantee you, I'm going complete lock on this. He's going to have a career year, at least the first of many career years. Nylander, Matthews, they'll still be the same Nylander and Matthews. And while Stolarz did make the team very defensively sound last season, obviously finishing third is not necessarily keeping defensively sound. That's not saying Toronto's going to have a bad year, because they won't. But it's ultimately all on Stolarz and Hall and however the net situation decides to look. It's a good thing we're not predicting the playoffs at this point as well, because, we all know how Toronto playoffs goes, right? Right. And this is where the biggest question marks came in. This was the sole reason for the rewrite, is the Florida Panthers. And yeah, before the rewrite, I had them finishing first in the division. I'm not going to lie. But with Barkov being out for the entirety of the regular season, with Tkachuk out till at least December, maybe January, there's some pretty big holes to fill in Florida right now. Now, is that showing the cracks in playing too much hockey? Maybe. But in the case of Barkov, yeah, complete freak accident. But the Panthers are still very much sound offensively. Between Bennett and Reinhart, they're still good. Verhaeghe, the list goes on. Defensively, Ekblad is still your number one defenseman in the team. And with goalie Bob in net, how can you go wrong? You're guaranteed at least a good season. Might not be the best season, but adversity builds its character, right? Ultimately, this could make the Panthers stronger than what they were for the last 3 seasons. I say 3 because, making the Stanley Cup Finals is still a great season. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of style the Panthers adapt to after this coming season, which ultimately means by default the Tampa Bay Lightning end up finishing first in the division. And rightfully so, right? It's been a long time since they've been, no, I don't want to say a competitive team, because they haven't been to the Cup in 3 years, which is not bad. I mean, the Stanley Cup window for the Lightning is still not closed. I mean, Vasilevsky is only going to be stronger in the net compared to the last 2 seasons, because, I mean, he was strong those 2 seasons. He's still strong now. Kucherov is still in his prime as far as I'm concerned. Hedman is only getting better. Now that Gensel's had a full season in Tampa Bay, I think he's definitely gotten a lot more comfortable. But again, the Atlantic Division is the strongest division in the league, at least as far as the East is concerned. So how the Lightning manage to persevere in this division depends entirely on the team themselves. And yeah, no, they'll definitely take the top of this division. So that was my 2025-26 Atlantic Division predictions. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm out to lunch. Let me know if I'm spot on. I'd love to hear it. Says another one of them Trevs hockey shows. I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture, especially if you've made it to this point. If you've made it to this point, you're at the end, my friend. And I'm proud of you for it. I mean, it definitely helps the watch time, and that's never a bad thing. It helps the exposure, as well as, if you're here, if you're digging what I'm doing, you just want to say, hey, that thumbs up helps just as much as the watch time. I mean, it helps the exposure of this channel to introduce myself to people who just love talking hockey all the time, because I'm quite guilty of that. If you want to, if you haven't done so by now, that red button, that one that says subscribe all over it, come on. You know you want to hit it. I know you want to hit it. The algorithm knows you want to hit it. I mean, we're making that push to 350 by the end of the year. We're a couple months away, so let's hope we can get that to that number. But either way, to everybody who has come along to this point, thank you very much. I do appreciate it very, very much. I can't express in words. And if you really want, that link in my description below, that'll take you to my Facebook page. Feel free to join that. I'd love to build in the audience there like I've built the audience here. I'm posting regularly on there. I mean, I'd love to have as much interaction there as I get here. So moving forward, like I said, these division predictions, this is only the first of 4. I got 3 more to go. And next is the toughest division in the West. So that one should be fun. Thankfully, I didn't have to rewrite that one. But either way, in the meantime, and in between time, be looking forward to some Trev. Later.